the community is 100% pulled together to work together. I am astounded at how everybody has ignored barriers. The other side of the street, people have all worked together, people have pulled together, people have just, really looked out for each other. And that's, in the whole time that I've worked in the city, worked in community work, I've never seen that strength of togetherness, despite us being so not together. Amazing, really amazing.
In an area with quite high levels of deprivation, a lot of people in Sneinton live very close to other people that haven't got very much. There's a wide level of understanding, I think, from people that their lives could be very, very different if they didn't have that little bit of extra help or a few pounds in the bank, something to help them get by. I think these times have been an eye-opener for lots of people. It's a national, international shockwave, and I think people in this area have shown that they have that level of understanding and the willingness to help others just to get by with a helping hand or a smile or a bit of advice. And I think that has shone through beautifully in the area. People have come together and people have been helped out, and it's a reassuring, life-affirming thing that's happened.
What I feel the positives have been out of this COVID-19 crisis is how our community have come together. We have seen within our communities how people are helping one another. We have seen how young and old, from all different backgrounds, are supporting the common good of supporting each other. We need to continue this important message, this important ethos. We can continue this if we stick together.
So what I do want to say is that it hasn't all been positive. There have been some very dark times. I have thought that our organisation won't come through it, but we will. But in the early days, that's what I thought. And I have had some very difficult days. There have been weekends where I haven't moved. I haven't got out of bed. I've just been curled up in a ball. And I think it's important to recognise that all of us have been through those peaks and troughs. Having said that, the opportunity to stop, or being told to stop, has created just all sorts of opportunities to just kind of reflect really on A, what we do, B, why we do it, and see who we do it for. And then there's probably a D about, is it actually worth us doing? So the stopping and the reflecting has been a really good thing for me. And the stopping has enabled me to have conversations with people, proper conversations with people that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So I've been able to talk to our members, to my family, to other carers, and just find out, what it is that we offer them, what it is we don't offer them, what they would like us to continue doing, what they would like us to stop doing, and what we don't do that they would like to do. So when we're planning the future, I feel we really are responding to what people want. So those are, for our organisation, those have been the positives.
Positive response from the community was that we came together in a situation of crisis where we didn't know how it started, where it's going to end, and also about basically about what we're going to do together, whatever, because my problems is everybody's problem. And I think what happened then is that the community got to know their neighbours, got to know who lived in that area, got to know who's responsible, they can get the support from. They knew who their counsellor was, where things which you kind of take for granted that somebody would then know, had to then know because they were in a situation, regardless of what level of social, economic kind of where you come from, where you're talking the rich and the poor. Everybody was in the same boat because we were all locked down. There wasn't no poor and rich. Everybody was locked down. We didn't know where it was going to end, and we all had to then come together. And then I think what was good as well is that where somebody had something, they kind of came out and basically were giving the gratitude, giving the support, and put it in for the community, which I think was one of the best things what could ever happen in the sense of bringing the community together.
I think From my perspective, the positives would be people coming together. That is the biggest positive I've seen. I've met people who 4 months ago who I'd never seen before, and they've come out and they have volunteered. I have met organizations whom I've never worked with before, and they have come out and supported us, and we have supported them. People have not bothered about which political party we represent, or like what political views they have, or whether they stay in a council estate or whether they stay in a really nice area. I think the positives of this pandemic, if you would like to say, would be everybody has just come out as one force, as human beings, and have given selflessly to the community.
Positive that has come out of the COVID lockdown for us is the community spirit, the need for people that are living in this area to be actively part of the solution, and helping to support their neighbours, their friends, has been amazing.
Positives, I think we found new friends from different sources that we never even knew anything about, that just popped up and wanted to get stuck in. I think that was a big plus for me, and obviously the contact we made with local residents that wasn't there before. Lots of lovely little notes, letters, but we really appreciated it.
I think the positives that have come out for my community are people working together who maybe wouldn't have worked together before. It's sort of thrown everyone together, and it's got some good outcomes. So that's a work point of view. For my community, it's got me with neighbours talking to each other. I've lived on my road for 9 years and didn't really know many of my neighbours. So me and my kids are going to check on a couple of elderly people each week, just say hello, knock on the door, wait at the end of the drive. So that's a positive for me.
I've learned a lot about the Python Club, about the businesses. I've gained a lot of experience with working with young people through social media and online courses. This has helped our young people stay focused and keep their mental health strong. This has also engaged with young people across Nottingham to get them involved in our Time Is Now campaign and our positive initiatives.
You know, if somebody comes to your door with something, with some advice, and you already know them, then, you know, that helps massively. It helps, with that trust. And you can see that with the volunteers that we've got. You know, they've got that newfound drive, that boosting confidence, that feel-good factor because they feel like they're doing something for the community, and that's just infectious, and that's a big help. So when somebody does knock on the door with some, shopping, it's somebody who understands, and just that interaction might be the only interaction they've had that day or that week. So it's just great.
I think we became a focal point for people just to contribute something or to try and help. I think everybody's just feeling quite helpless in all the situations.
Another positive thing that's come out of this is it's an influence or an impact on people's mental health and well-being. A lot of volunteers and a lot of people in the community since the lockdown didn't have a lot to do. Some were furloughed, some were isolating, some were not going out much, and essentially some were bored with nothing to do. And what happens when you are in your house 3 months in a row with nothing to do? It can lead to mental health issues, it can be depression. However, volunteering in the community has brought out the best side of people, and it's impacted people's mental health in a positive manner.
This might sound a bit odd, but a positive for me has been that I think everybody, absolutely everybody, has had to, during this pandemic, look at their own mortality. All of us are going to die one day, and all of us need to sort of consider that. So from that point of view, it's been quite easy to have some of the conversations that in the past have been quite difficult to have, certainly amongst, I'm a carer, but you know, with other carers, it's made it easier to have the conversations about what their plans are for the future. It's also made it a little bit easier to talk to some of our members about what their plans are for the future, because they've been frightened by what's happening, and you know, they've seen people they know become ill, or they've heard of it and they're watching it on the television. And so for me, one of these positives has been, it has enabled all of us to start to think truly, what is important to us? What do I want for my future? What do I want to happen in the future when I'm not even here? So, you know, for me, that has been another positive.
It's about unity. It's about us uniting, coming together. We've seen across the country marches and protests, which are rightly needed. But we need to have that united approach where everyone's included in this discussion, where everyone discusses the issues of the day and we all come together to solve them. I talked about love, because love is needed for each other, even myself. Love is important to show your neighbour, show somebody you've never met that you're there for them, that you care for them. We're losing sometimes love in our society these days, so it's about fighting back for that love and that connection. We can do it, it just takes hard work. And then I mentioned community, because community is what it all boils down to. Our communities coming together, as we've seen in COVID-19. We need to stand strong and united, and I keep repeating these things because it's important that the message comes across. The Python Club will stand with you, and I know other great organisations and individuals will stand with you, because we are part of the solution.
I'd like to think that people will be more community focused because of what's happened. It's very much all up in the air, as nobody knows what's going to happen next with the pandemic anyway. There will be an awful lot of people out of work, so I think the need for food banks and similar projects is going to grow. I don't think it's going to go away. So hopefully we might find new ways of helping out. So watch this space.
Have you got any thoughts on what those new ways might be?
Not yet, no. The last one was spur of the moment, so hopefully something will pop in my head.
For us, I think it is about giving people a platform to be able to make changes for themselves. So, you know, we're not going to be prescriptive and go, right, this is the way you need to go. It's about what people want. I think, you know, the next step would be for us to just give the volunteers a chance to be able to sort of develop projects for the area. So, you know, if they say that there's a need for something, quite often they don't know where to go, they don't know who to turn to, and actually it might be something that they can do themselves. So that's what we want to do. We want to be able to say to them, look, right, if that's what you want, we'll help you with that. You know, whether it comes to, you know, setting up a bid, getting the right links to be able to do that, and putting them in touch with other volunteers that have got the same desires and the same drive.
But the most important thing is to start to get people to connect and be confident to connect again, because there's been lots of help, lots of support, lots of different ways of working, but actually people feeling connected to each other and feeling confident to connect that's my simple what's next. That's our aim. And so many families will be looking at how their lives are restructured, completely restructured, whether that's unemployment, in terms of schools, childcare over the summer. So much has still to change and still to, you know, remodel, that I think we've got a lot of gentle hand-holding and gentle support to do for months and months and months to come. So I don't want to put anything really in stone and say we're going to do X, Y and Z. We'll do whatever we need to do to help the community re-emerge safely and happily.
In terms of what comes next, from my perspective, at a community level, from a Nottingham level, I think we've built up a momentum. We've built up a momentum of doing good work, selfless work, irrespective of our backgrounds, and that should continue. Pandemic or no pandemic, this momentum should continue, and there is no reason why the good work that we are carrying on should stop because the lockdown's been eased and we are getting into a better place.
So I think moving forward is about trying to create some sort of steering group or a think tank in relation to trying to move and look at what's happened, what has been destroyed, and how we're going to kind of rebuild. It's a bit like a house where you've had a flood or you've had a earthquake, and we've had, you would say it's sort of like an earthquake, but it's been emotional and physical, etc. And we've got to somehow try and build back a city or build back a community to know how we're going to work together to kind of get it forward. Because I think the most damaging thing, I feel, knowing that I've worked with young people for majority of my life, is the issue of young people at this generation not being able to go to school and not the educational aspect of it. And then also the other bits, the kids young people who, when it happened, regarding sitting exams and preparing themselves to go to college and university. So you've got a generation in 2020 where there's so much uncertainty, and it'll be like that damaging effect for the next couple of years, whatever, just to get back onto some sort of straight and narrow in the sense of the development.
The phrase that I used, or I read somewhere at the beginning of this whole thing 17 weeks ago, was that a lot of us seem to be sort of rushing into things, and that when you go to, I think it was about people that go to, I can't think of the flipping word, what's it called when you go to like a major disaster and things need to happen, but the person that was writing had described what needs to happen needs to be a slow hurry. So at the beginning I was rushing around, I need to make sure everybody's okay, I need to make sure the business survives, I need to make sure and that wasn't helping anybody. But when I understood what a slow hurry was, that's when I move forward from now on, that is the pace that I'm going to go at. I think I'm going to stop, I'm going to reflect more, I'm going to check out more with people as an organisation. And I think for our organisation, for Pulp Friction, it is going to be about future proofing what we have.
In terms of lessons that we've got to learn, or how what's just happened impacts on what is going to happen, I think the reality is that we're going to face years of disruption. Even if the virus was to pack its bags tomorrow and say goodbye, we've got all sorts of things to deal with still. It's brought on lots and lots of changes, so things that maybe would have happened in 5 or 10 years with the change in the way people go to shop, whether it's in a physical shop or the internet. I think it means that a lot of people are going to be working at home, a lot of businesses in the city are going to face difficulties. We have to think about that. We can't just say, well, that was a tough time, didn't do very well, we did very well, that's all gone, because it hasn't gone. And I think probably the biggest, longest challenge we've got is years of trying to be inventive and resourceful. And I think if there's anything that we can learn is that we dealt with a lot of change and a lot of unknowns as best we could. Sometimes not very well, sometimes very well indeed. We have to carry on with that, and we have to think, how can we make this work for ourselves, for our neighbourhood, for our city and for our country. It's a time for us to be generous and time for us to be imaginative and positive.
Like that.
Yeah.